That one won't roll off the tongue
No,
really well.
no.
Oh, that's good. That's good. All right, so Smack Apparel here. We are joined by the biggest college football fan on the internet that I know. The man knows everything there is to know about college football. Talks a lot of smack. Apparently makes everybody mad. Can't keep anybody happy or on his side. Chris Marler, Vern Funquist on social media. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's almost like 30% of what you said is how I would have described myself, maybe. But I mean, yeah, like I definitely wouldn't have led with the knows everything. I think I do, but I also am reminded on a daily basis from fans on the internet, my family, and my girlfriend that I do not. So, but it's good to be here, man.
Well, hey, listen, we got to give you the good introduction, and then you can you can pivot that however you want to. You could have said,
Yeah,
"Yeah, I do know everything. Thank you for that. That is a fact." But you went the other direction, so I was going to let you
yeah.
take the lead on that introduction.
Humble, just trying to be humble.
There you go. There you go. So just really quick, it's rivalry week, so we just want to check in and figure out what we're missing in rivalry week, what some people might not know, and just get your opinion on some of the different things that go around on rivalry week. So without further ado, the top 5 rivalries in college football that aren't Michigan and Ohio State, because everybody puts them at top.
So top five for me, I would say, and if you want me to go in order, I would start with the Egg Bowl. I think the Egg Bowl is like a very fierce rivalry we don't talk enough about. I always say like them. There's not much going on in that state, right? Like, and there's few things that people in that state hate, like outside of like feeling what's beneath their ankles because of type 2 diabetes, like than each other. Like Ole Miss, Mississippi State fans do not get along. They do not like each other. I would have that at two or at one outside of Michigan, Ohio State. Two, I would say Bama Auburn for the rivalry, like for like the fierceness of the rivalry. If we're talking about like national implications and how much it actually matters in the grand scheme of things, I would have it like down a little bit. I think like this rivalry gets a lot of love strictly because of like the moments that you see, like kick six, and then like some of these other big games, the comeback game, and like all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it's a pretty streaky rivalry, and like few times in the recent like 20 years has it actually mattered on who gets into the national championship game between the two. After that, I would say Texas Oklahoma. I love that. It's like smack dab in the middle of the season. They played at a
Do you
neutral
like
site.
that?
I
Do you
love
like
it.
that? I always think that's weird that that game's not on rivalry week. Do you like that it's just like on a random week in the middle of the year?
That used to be my favorite week of the football season when I was growing up. I'm old. I'm dating myself. I'm 37. Despite these emo gloves I had from my jog that I was on earlier, I like I'm a little bit older, so like that used to be my favorite week of the year because it would be that game, FSU Miami, which is also another incredible rivalry that wasn't a rivalry week, Georgia Tennessee, and then LSU Florida. I think it's a great game. It's weird because it's like the people watching at Texas OU is incredible because there's a state fair involved, and anytime there's a state fair involved, there's people are eating like fried carburetors and shit. Like it is an incredible like atmosphere of just obesity and college football all wrapped into one. So I would have that three. Four, I feel like I have to say this or I'll get like punished, but like Army Navy, I used to hate Army Navy because for real, if you think about it, Army Navy like it signifies the end of what we love most, which is college football. Like it's the end of the season. And it's so sad and I hate all that part, but it's been really good as of late. They do a good job with like the production of it. It's like the theatrics of it are incredible. Like what it means to the country, what it means to people that served. It's like really cool. So I do like that. Um, and then last but not least, if I'm saying fifth, this is gonna like people aren't gonna like this one as much, but I'll say it's my one of my personal favorites. It's Georgia Auburn, the Deep South's oldest rivalry. Very even, despite Georgia has owned that series over the last like 17, 18 years. I think they've won 15 to 18, but a very even rivalry before that, before Kirby got there. And like I said, Deep South's oldest rivalry. It used to be played in November, like second to last week of the year. Leaves changing. It's a cool story. Like the first game was actually played in Piedmont Park in Atlanta, where I'm from, and it's just I love like the history of it all as well. So I'd have that at five.
All right, that works. That works. A little bit untraditional. I appreciate the swivel again with the different games. What would you
Yeah.
say then? What would you say? Do you have the most underrated rivalry that needs to be talked about more that not enough people know is one of the more fun rivalries in college football?
I really like Georgia Auburn. I think is a good one, but this may sound stupid because I know that it's talked about a decent amount, but the Egg Bowl is incredible. Like the whole story of like the trophy and how like it was just like it was supposed to be a football, but it was in the shape of an egg because they didn't know how to make trophies apparently. And then there was like a fight at midfield during the game with like people like WWE style breaking chairs over people's backs and stuff. Like that is any rivalry where the game is decided. and both coaches were fired after this game, partially because of it. Anytime a game is decided because someone did a fake dog pee celebration in the end zone, that is collegiate football lore immediately. I mean, it's so good. I think that like there's a lot of underrated ones. I feel like we don't talk about Florida State Miami enough anymore because of just like ever since they moved it out of the Orange Bowl, it just isn't as great. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think honestly, some of those ones down near you in Florida, like the war on I-4, like UCF and USF. I don't know the
Man,
history of it.
RIP to that one.
Is it
That was a
gone
good one.
now?
That was a fun one though. That was a good one. Yeah, that was a good one.
But like anytime you get those like Florida schools involved, because they all played each other in high school, and from what I understand about deep South Florida football, people are like putting like unreasonable amounts of money on kids' games. So it's like everything's very heightened down there. So I would say some of those games.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. All right, so what about the most overrated? Is there one that gets all the? I mean, you can't say that Michigan Ohio State's overrated. That gets all the attention. But is there one? Do you think that that is overrated?
No, I don't. I think it's the best one year in and year out. There's the most on the line. They really do hate each other. But I will tell you what. Outside of that, literally any rivalry in the Big Ten, like any, especially involving a trophy. That league has over 30 trophy games, and if you've ever looked into the history of the trophy games, I know it's supposed to be a quick hitter and not be that long, but I've of course since I'm so long winded, I've made it that way. I'm gonna keep going because there's not one but two Paul Bunyan themed trophies in the Big Ten.
For
Like
which schools? For which ones?
so Michigan plays Minnesota for like Paul Bunyan's axe or something, and then Michigan plays Michigan State for the Paul Bunyan Trophy. There's so many. Listen, one would be too many, but two is an unreasonable amount of Paul Bunyan cosplay trophies, and it makes no sense. He's not a real person. He's not a real person that ever lived. And if you ever look at the other stuff, this is I'll give you two actual historical things that are real life from Big Ten trophies. Michigan State plays Indiana for the old spittoon, the old brass spittoon. This entire trophy was made up by a senior at Michigan State who was walking by a thrift store and was like, you know what? We need a trophy. Grabbed a spittoon. If you don't know what a spittoon is, good for you, for one. Two, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a like a what are those things people like at the pee in a hospital, but it's just for like you just
Oh,
spit
like
in it.
a
Yeah,
bedpan? A
a
bedpan?
bedpan, but you just spit in it. Like I don't know why. You want to collect it? I'm not sure. So anyway, so like he brought it to the administration. He's like, we need a trophy for this game, and the administration was like, you're right. We'll just run with that for the next 8 decades. Like think about like if somebody walks into the administration's office and is like, I found this at a Goodwill right here. You spit in it. They were like, we should make that our entire identity for this entire rivalry.
They're like,
And,
yes,
and
nailed
yeah,
it.
and then the Indiana.
Oh, you're good.
Indiana and Purdue played for the old Oaken Bucket, and there's a fun fact about this: they've been playing this for like over 100 years, but they decided between the two schools they were going to have a trophy, and it needed to be a wooden bucket. And instead of like every single one of these Big Ten trophies, it's like the person who was in charge of getting the trophy woke up the day of the game and was like, "Oh shit,
I
I
forgot.
totally
I
forgot."
forgot. I forgot. I needed to
Yeah,
get a trophy.
here's a cup of soil, like our seventh grade science projects at the end of the year. Like I totally forgot. Like this is so they what they did was instead of just going to get a new one at whatever Bed Bath and Beyond would have been in the 20s, because all of these are just antebellum housewares. They were like, we're gonna go into the woods in Indiana and find. We're gonna go on a quest for the best bucket, and they found this in a well, and they were like, that's the one, that's the bucket. And the first game they played for that bucket, it was a 0-0 tie because that rivalry is so bad that even the bucket didn't want to go home with either team.
It almost just set the precedent for the rest of the Big Ten. The rest
Yeah,
of the life of the Big Ten was that bucket in
right,
that game.
right.
It was like, you know what? This is what we're going to model our life after. This very tough bucket that is tough tough to
Yeah,
break through. Tough
yeah,
minded bucket. Oh, that's too funny.
yeah.
That's too good. Well, nice man. I had more questions, but you pretty much nailed just about everything. I was gonna ask you. I was just gonna ask you about a tradition, maybe a tradition that people don't know about that is fun within the rivalries. But we heard a lot about the trophies. If you have another one, we'll definitely take it.
No, I'm sorry for going on and on and on. I just have a
No, no,
lot
no.
of
Of course, man. I love it.
and then like the and spittoons apparently. But no, I think I will say the trophy stuff always weirds me out because it just never seems like He just always seems overrated. Like Bama and Auburn will play for the FOK or FDK something sportsmanship trophy. And if you're involved in a rivalry that was suspended for 50 years by the state legislature because of like all the stabbings and beatings and fights after the game, and you had someone burn down trees like 15 years ago, maybe we take the word sportsmanship out of the trophy. Just a thought. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, it doesn't really ring true with the actual rivalry.
No.
Oh man, that's too funny. Well, again, man, I appreciate the time. I appreciate all that information. I just learned a lot of stuff about this rivalry week, and now I'm excited to track these trophies and just kind of learn about the history of them. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, I'm sorry I turned the minute-long video into 15 minutes of just me on a diatribe, but I enjoyed it, man. I'll get it to you guys soon.
No, it sounds great, man. It sounds great. And, appreciate the time, and now we'll throw it up on YouTube. So that's even better anyway.
All right, sounds good, brother.
I appreciate it. If you could just leave the app open.
Oh,